Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classic Chloe Show, where we talk about music and its effects on every aspect of our daily lives. I'm your host, Chloe Castillo, and I have another fantastic guest for you today. Chris Wallin is a songwriter he's written for some of the, I think, biggest stars in Nashville as far as country music goes. If you ever heard a song by Trace Atkins or Toby Keith, that may have just been Chris Wallin's creation. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Chloe. Good to
Of
be
course.
here.
So good to see. So good to see you. So let's dive into this discussion here. We're going to talk about music, clearly, because that's what both of us here do. We're going to chat about a little bit about politics and how music and politics collide, and how those two
Right.
really affect each other in society. And let's just chat about all those kind of things. So, Chris, I want to dive in by just kind of asking you about your background in the music industry. Where did you come from? How did you get your start, and what was your experience like as someone in the industry for so long?
Well, I actually started in the business when my first taste of Nashville in the music business was my mother. My mother made a record in Nashville when I was 7 years old, and we lived on top of a bar on Broadway. So, and I used to be on the steps. I couldn't get off the steps of Broadway right there. So it was my mother's dream before it was mine. So it was one of those where from an early age I knew that there were people writing the songs that the people that was singing the songs were singing, and I knew from an early age that I wanted to be the person writing them and not necessarily singing them. I still sing, but I would rather. I have friends that can't go to Walmart, so I'm a country boy. I got to go to Walmart. So it's just so we ended up moving back um, after my mother made her record, and I remember, well, before that, I want to say this. One of my earliest memories is my mother taking me with her to all of the bars and the restaurants in Nashville. And she had a 45 record, a vinyl record. And she would go to the bars and the restaurants that had jukeboxes. And she would take these jukebox inserts and her record around to see if she could get people to put her record in the jukeboxes. And that's how it was done back then. So that was one of my earliest memories of my mother and music. So I always knew that you had to work hard. It's not just you have talent and everything just comes to you after that. I knew from an early age that you have to work for it no matter how talented you are. So we left Nashville, went back to East Tennessee. I came back right after high school. I ended up working for a bail bondsman at 18 years old, doing skip tracing, which means I was finding fugitives at 18 years old. We lived in a little hotel room called the Continental Inn, and let me tell you, it was not the Hilton. It was not, and it was very rough, very very rough part of town. And the guy that I was working with almost got us killed. So, uh, I ended up moving back home again, and fast forward, now this third time that I've been here about 25 years, and finally got a bunch of hits under my belt and in producing and writing and records, and here I am.
That's an interesting story for sure. I think it's not exactly one you can duplicate a lot of times, so I love to hear it. Um,
No, no, that's true. You wouldn't
so
want to, actually.
well, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak from your experience. Sounds pretty fun to me. But let me just ask you here, because I know when you started, you have Based Records signed behind you there. I know you're a part of Based Records, a record company out of Nashville. Y'all are known as like the countercultural record label, and they're in Nashville. And I want to ask you, you've told me in the past that, and I've heard you talking about this too, that as someone from the industry who is there because you love music, you love writing music, like you said, it's been from an early age, you've had a passion for being the, creator behind so many of these fantastic hits. And so I want to ask you, you talked a little bit before about how you kind of had a hard time transitioning from that to being outspoken as a conservative at Based Records. Not that Based is asking you to be like all of a
Yeah.
sudden, the president or something like that, but you as a record label who is just open about their conservative beliefs. What was that like? What was that transition like? Did you get a lot of shunning from the industry? Was it a pretty smooth transition? What was it like for you?
Well, I talked to my wife before I said yes to Based Records because we had a talk. I said, I don't know if I should do this. I want to do this, but will I get canceled? Is this going? Because at the time, I mean, people were vicious. I mean, they still are in some ways, but were vicious. I mean, it was, it was one of those things where I could have spoken out and completely gotten blackballed, and canceled.
Sure.
I mean, because Nashville is a lot more liberal than people think. Country music is, especially the newer country music, is a lot more liberal than think. It's one of those where I've lost contact with friends I've known for 20 years. I've had people basically try to bully me like a 12-year-old kid online that are huge people in the industry that I've had to block, and they've had to block me. And it's just so ridiculous. And now, honestly, some of these people have actually come around a little bit. I've actually had someone come up to me at an event that we had an altercation online that I've known forever, and it was a musician that was very, very well known here, and he apologized to me because he basically said there was some things that he said that weren't, that he was just going off the rails. And I basically told him at the time, you're bigger than that. This guy was a he's a Grammy winning musician. I mean, he was. I said, do you not know who you are? I said, you're lowering yourself to this, and you're better than that, man. Um, don't let these people get you to where you have to lower yourself because someone doesn't think the way you do and be so petty. Anyway, he basically said he was sorry, and that because of some of the things that have transpired, he kind of is changing his way of thinking a little bit. And that's not everybody, of course, but I believe that there's a lot of hope in the air right now. Truly believe that. I think that there are people who are coming around this time that never thought they ever would, but they're realizing that the truth is being uncovered in so many ways. And I just have a lot of hope in my heart that that people are going to open their eyes to that.
Well, I have a lot of hope as well. I think that we are, the golden age of America is upon us. I truly, truly believe that, and I hope that as conservatives, we really do whatever we can to take advantage of that and really, build up America like never before. And so I hope that that's something that's going to happen in these next 4 years and onward. I want to go back to what you said a minute ago about country music not being the same as it used to be. I think that's, for old school people like me and you who love, old music like Hank Williams and Patsy Cline and Alan
Oh,
Jackson and
absolutely.
those kind of, to me, that's country music. I like those old, like the greats. 90s and before the 90s is like my kind of music. I think that kind of country music is the only thing that should qualify as country music, personally. But I won't be that radical and say that, there are, country music is still a genre. It's still being created, still being, something
Right.
it's grown a lot actually. But beyond people like myself who are, really like the old, styles more as far as actual music, let's talk about the actual musicians, like Beyonce, for example, who just won the Grammys for the best country music album of the year. I don't know how many weeks ago that was.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's just talk about that for a brief moment here because there's something about the industry, the country music industry. Also, I don't remember the name, so I apologize for not being more well versed on this particular incident. But a couple female country music stars, I think it was during the CMT Awards, like 2 years or a year or so back, basically came out and was talking about, how we need to accept transgenderism. They had these drag queens out with them on stage, and very very well known pops, or not, I say pop, country pop, as in my opinion, singers, who
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
and were totally backing this. It was also right after one of the school shootings that involved a transgender, and so that was kind of absurd in my opinion. But still, beyond all of that, um, you look at the country music industry these days. I guess what I'm getting across here is you look at the country music industry these days, and it's not what it used to be. Beyond just the music itself, the people who make up the industry aren't real country people anymore. They're Hollywood pop stars who would put on a cowgirl or cowboy hat and some boots, and that's about it. And so I want to get your thoughts on this because as someone who worked with people like Toby Keith, an actual country music
Mhm.
musician, what is it like to see this, I would say, downfall in the industry that, I would think you hold very dear?
Absolutely. I think that the problem with a lot of today's country music is they have forgotten who their boss is. They have forgotten their audience. And their audience is hardworking, tax paying, red blooded American people that are tired of being forgotten. And they have been forgotten, make no mistake. The real country music fans have been forgotten. And as far as the Beyonce thing, her winning a Grammy, I said this before in another video, has nothing to do with real country music fans. Because the Grammys, unfortunately, these days, the fans have nothing to do with it. So what Beyonce did was she has Beyonce fans who aren't country fans, come in and do all the work and basically kind of take over, in my opinion, the where normally country music fans would be. So I believe that her music, and you know, I listened to the album. This is what I think. I think that if a no-name woman of color were to come in with that same album, we would not be talking about this. We would not be, and it's sad because there are amazing people of color in country music that they don't let on the stage. So they made a big thing about race and race, because everybody was saying that the reason that people didn't like her album or that she was getting any kind of pushback was race. And it has nothing to do with that's stupid. Because there are amazing country singers, black country singers, Latino country singers that are singing amazing songs that no one ever hears. And then Beyonce comes in because she's Beyonce, and all of a sudden it goes to number one after putting millions and millions of dollars in promotion, and because she's Beyonce. So I think that does nothing but hurt people of color in country music. That's just my opinion. And I just think that her album, I tell you who did, in my opinion, who's doing it correctly is Post Malone. Post Malone, for one thing, he's a great singer. And he's coming in and doing collaborations with, you know, people that are extremely um, well thought of here. And I mean, he's getting up and singing with Vince Gill and blowing it out of the park. Where what Beyonce did is she had Dolly Parton, but she didn't really have them do anything. She didn't have Dolly Parton actually singing, which is ridiculous. And she messed up her song. She changed the lyrics to Jolene, and it was just disrespectful, in my opinion. And it wasn't. It doesn't have a country heart at all. They were just coming in trying to make money in the country genre to say they did it. And that doesn't bring any respect or any homage to country music or its fans, in my opinion. And they would have been better off to do what Post Malone did and actually have people sing and go up on stage with people and pay homage to country music fans and do it correctly. And I think that's a huge difference that that has happened between just to A B those two. I think that Post Malone has way more respect than Beyonce ever will in country music right now.
Yeah, well, I personally, I mean, I'm no country music expert like yourself, and I think Post Malone does have a great voice. I haven't listened to a ton of his music. I have to say, I'm not super well versed on what he puts out there. But what I will say, as someone who, from what you're describing, seems to be actually a true country music singer in a way, it's sad to
He's
see
great.
it's sad to see him collaborating and, I guess, entertaining the idea of people like Beyonce and Taylor Swift as great cultural icons. Like, for example, He did a song like on the Cowboy Carter album with Beyonce. He did a song with her, Levi's jeans. I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
heard it. I'm looking at the lyrics here. I'm sorry, these lyrics are pop lyrics. These are not.
Oh,
these are not country
absolutely.
lyrics. I mean, we're talking about.
Oh, I
I'll just read
agree.
a little bit of this. You know, um, whatever. This is all, kind of fine. I'll misread a couple of things. Call me pretty little thing. I'll to turn you on. Blah blah blah. Not that bad. Whatever. Then
Yeah,
it comes down here, and we're like, I'm an effing animal. She's sexy. I'm an effing animal. She rep it. Saddle up.
yeah.
Prima donna. Whatever. I mean, it's not that this is necessarily like inherently evil or bad. But I'm sorry, as someone who was raised on country music, this isn't country. I mean, every time I see you, I want to grab you and I let you touch it, and you can't let loose. I mean, come on, like what is
Mm-hmm.
this really what we were raised on with country music? I mean, I, not last time I checked. You know what
No.
I mean? And you look at stuff like his collaborations with Taylor Swift, and it to me it takes away from the true art as a really good performer by kind of like selling out in a way to these artists who are, I'm sorry, are not doing anything for our culture in a positive way. So let me ask you, we have just a couple minutes left with the wrap up here, but let me ask you, um, you know, going down that route of, kind of, in my opinion, I'm kind of a little disappointed in Post Malone because of, where he's gone with some of his collaborations. So let me ask you,
Yeah.
as the conservative side of the music industry, like you are with Based Records, what do we need to do? What do we need funding? Do we need, more people voicing their opinions on this? What needs to happen to be able to create an industry that can support artists like Post Malone, not necessarily artists who are already big like that, but people who are, rising stars in a way like he once was, in an industry that isn't going to be a complete sellout to Hollywood for survival, if that makes sense. Like you have to, in a way, sell out to Hollywood if you're going to make it big these days. So what can we do to create an industry alternative, to what they have to offer on the left side of things to actually create good music, create good art that isn't going to, be like, oh, great musician, but unfortunately he does this. You know what I mean? Like that kind of art that actually, like what we were raised on, just good music, good art, true. Either if it's country, it's a true country, person from the country who, was raised on these kind of lifestyles. If it's jazz, someone who can relate to that. What can we do to bring back that kind of culture to America?
Well, I think that it all starts with just reaching out to the people that you stopped communicating with, the fans that right now but just, and it's just business. Reaching out to younger and younger and younger audiences. And when there's an entire group of people that is not being catered to, that are so hungry for music and culture that isn't halfway demonic, and it doesn't have to be anything hokey. It doesn't have to be, but in my opinion, we have to bring back real life to music. And country music has historically been that. Country music has historically talked about real life and things that people go through that are real. Now you listen to pop and a lot of country now, it's the same storyline. It's the same loop. Back in my day, we used to call country music three chords and the truth. And in my opinion, we've went from three chords and the truth to nine co-writers and a loop. And a loop is just a synthetic drum. And it's just gotten so disingenuous, and now it's become background music. Music is way more powerful than just background music, and people are losing an opportunity to change people's lives. Great lyrics change people's lives. You hear, no one listening to a beat or a drum loop has ever stopped that and called their father they hadn't talked to in 15 years.
Looking to give your wardrobe an upgrade? Well, look no further. Here at God Country & Kin, we've got you covered from head to toe, from shoulder to shoulder, and everything in between. Introducing our brand new Patriotic Collection, designed to display your patriotic spirit with a stylish look that's sure to turn heads. And the best part is, you don't have to break the bank to be your best you. Why wait? Visit us online or in-store today and elevate your style with God Country & Kin. God Country & Kin, where patriotism meets style. Shop now. Visit the Patriot TV store and look for the God Country Kin banner to find the perfect outfit, shirt, accessory, or maybe a great hat. You can totally see yourself rocking this hat. I know you can. And check out all the great stuff we've got to show your patriotism at patriot.tv.store. Click that link above that says store and join me there at the Patriot TV store.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Roofs aren't made like they used to be. They have significantly less asphalt in them than they did 20 years ago. That's causing roofs to wear out way before they should. Roof Max can extend the life of your roof for at least 5 and up to 15 years, guaranteed. 9 out of 10 roofs qualify. Restore your roof at a fraction of the cost for a new roof. Mention Patriot TV and get their $859 roof tune-up for free. Call 1-800-ROOF-MAX. Absolutely, Chris. I think you said so many things there that were spot on, and I truly do have a lot of hope moving forward with our culture in America at large as well. And I think that what you said there about, music lyrics and music are extremely powerful, and if we are totally oblivious to what we're consuming, that's a large danger. And I think that knowing the power of music and the power of lyrics is not to be redundant, but a very powerful thing. And I think that if, as conservative artists, conservative producers, or people who want to invest in something good in our society, I think something that they need to really latch onto is the need for good art to return to make America great again as well. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to talk to you. Please tell the audience where they can find you and any new projects you have coming up. We have about 30 seconds here.
Yeah, we can go to basedrecords.com, BASTE, and check us out. And we have some really cool stuff coming up with Rachel Holt. I'm going in the studio this month to cut some more things, and just be looking for us. We're gonna be out there here pretty soon with some really cool things, and just keep in touch.
All right, so good values and good music and good lyrics from Chris Wallin over at Based Records. Great to have you on, Chris. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you later, Chloe.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Please subscribe to the Classic Chloe Show on Rumble, YouTube, and Spotify. And please follow me at classically_Chloe on Instagram and Classically Chloe on all other platforms. See you next week. God bless.